So students, very good morning to all of you. Today I'm going to discuss uh, the topic object-oriented programming uh, related to Python programs. So before entering into the programming concept, I'm sharing the uh, basic fundamentals of the object-oriented programming. So I hope my screen is visible to everybody. So object-oriented programming when I'm talking about the object-oriented programming, I must have to mention the two things which are very much required. Number one is class and number two is object. So, because each and everything, whatever we implemented so far in Python programming, that is the variable concept, each and every time I mention this is an object, this is an object, this is an object, like int a. So data type is not required over here, but when I'm assigning some integer value to the variable a. So earlier I told a become an object. Okay. When I'm assigning a string value to the variable b, I told that that b variable is an object of class string. So now this is the time I must have to explain that what actually the class is and what is an object is. So when I am defining a class, I must give a real life example so that it will be very much clearer to you. So when I'm talking about the CSE third semester student, CSE third semester student. So CSE third semester has almost 70 students. Okay. So each and every student have their own ID. That means your roll number, name, address, phone number, mail ID. Okay. This ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID, these are not same for all 70 students, right? Rather, they are distinct for all 70 students. So, if I consider this example, so I can tell that using this ID, name, address, phone number, and mail ID, I can or rather I can distinguish one student from other student. So what this ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID, these are the attributes of the students, right? Based on which I am distinguishing one student from other. Say I am telling ID equal to 1, that means the student roll number 1, name A, address B, phone number 12345, mail ID say a@gmail.com. When I'm talking about student whose roll number is 2, the ID is different, name is also different, address is different, phone number is different, mail ID is different. So here roll number 1 is an object. Roll number 2 is another object. Roll number 3 is another object. The same way we can create up to roll number 70. And you have more than 70 roll numbers, I think. So all the students in this class are individually nothing but an object. And from where they are coming? They are coming from a class. And I considered the class name TAC SEM 3. TAC SEM 3 is my class name, under which all 72 students belong or 75 students belongs. And each and individual student are treated as the object of that very class. Which class? TAC SEM 3. I hope you understood what class is, what object is. And when I am creating an object, as I have this attributes, these are called member variables of the class. Once again, I'm repeating. These are called the member variables of class. ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID. These are the member variables of class. Now, I'm telling you how a class can be represented. A class can be represented by a box which has 3 rooms. First room, second room, and third room. Room number 1 is used for the class name. And be careful when you giving or when you creating a new class that always class name must begin with a capital letter. So I consider my class name instead of CSE SEM 3, I am just giving a generalized name. Say it is student. So student is my class. Okay. And in the second room comprises with the member variables of the class. Who are the member variables? I already mentioned. That is ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID, right? These are the member variable of the class. And what the third room comprises? The third room comprises with the functions or methods. Once again, I'm repeating. The third room comprises with function and methods. Okay. The functions which are related to this class, okay, which are related to the class student are written or are defined under this third room of this box. So this is the representation of a class, okay. This is known as the class diagram, which has 3 rooms. First room, class name. Second room, these are the member variables of the class. And the third room, these are the functions and methods which are related to this class, under which you are defined. Next question. How we can use this class? When we define the class, I must have to mention these things. We understood that much. But how we can use that class? The answer is, you must have to create object to use this class. you must have to create object to use this class. And when you are creating an object of this class student, as my example I considered, I must have this ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID attributes for all objects that many we created from the student class. So when I'm creating the object one has the ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID, these attributes. Object 2 also having the same, object 3 also having the same, and similarly, if I create the 75 or 76 objects, because I told that each individual student of your class will be treated as an object. So if I create all 75 students by creating object, all have these features: ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID. And another important thing, say I have three functions. One is fun1. We already know how to define function, but the functions defined under the class is bit different than the normal functions we learned. We already learned how to write user-defined function, but how to learn functions under a class is bit different syntax than the normal user-defined function. I will discuss this definitely. So suppose I have three functions under my class student. One is function 1, another one is function 2, another one is function 3. So I can use all these three functions of uh, the object of class student. Or rather, I can say this function 1, 2, 3 can be used by the object which belongs to class student. I'm clarifying this line by giving another example. Suppose I have another class, say employee, okay, which have member variables, say ID 1, name 1, address 1, okay, mail ID 1, salary. So these are the member variables of employee class. And for the third room, I have, say, another function, fun4. Try to understand. I have another function, fun4. When I have another function, fun4, so this function is defined under the class employee. So this is room number 1, class employee. This is room number 2. That is my ID. Okay. Well, these are the member variables, and this is my function, room number 3 of this box. Now, what I'm telling just before the discussion of this employee class, I'm creating an object of class employee. Can I call this function, or can I use these functions fun1 on the object of employee? The answer will be no. Why? Because this fun1 is defined under class student, and your object through which you are calling fun1, that are the object that is an object of class employee. So employee object of class employee can't access the function 1. And the reverse story is also true. Object of class student cannot access fun4. I hope this thing is clear. So whatever the functions we defined under a class, those functions are accessible from the object which belongs to that very class. Another class object, other class object cannot call that functions. Okay, if not, it is inherited. That is the different concept. I will definitely discuss. General concept, one class object can call the functions which are defined under that class. If the function is defined in other class, object cannot access or object cannot call that functions. So I think this much is clear to you. What is class? What is object? What class consists? And how can we use that class? So this is the theoretical concept. Now I'm sharing the programming screen where I have tried to implement a very basic program, okay, in Python to implement this fundamental class object concept. Okay, let me share my programming screen. Hope the screen is visible to you. Just a minute. This example. Okay, so let me modify the program bit so that you can understand what I am trying to do. Uh, in Python, let me write a new code so that it will be helpful. Okay, so in this program, I'm trying to create a class, say box. What is my class name? It's a box. I'm telling my class name is box. When I'm telling my class name is box, definitely this box class have some member variables. And I consider the member variables are width. In Python, earlier concept, we know that their declaration is not required. Variable declaration is not required. So I must have to assign any value to the variables when I'm declaring or mentioning the variables under a class. These are the member variables. Width, height, and depth I consider as my member variable. I'm assigning some value so that I can let the program understand that these are the integer, these are the float, these are the another floats like that. So 5 into 2 into 10. So these are three member variables of this class box. Okay. So class box I define. This is my, after that I have to put a colon like earlier. Automatically the alignment comes into its proper place. And after that I am telling the story of the second box, that these are the member variables. Now I'm coming to this story for the third box. I'm defining one function. The name of the function is vol. Okay. And the difference I had told earlier, then when I am defining a function under a class, that function definition syntax is little bit different than the normal user defined functions. In case of normal user defined function, we just write the what def vol. If it is parametered, then I have to mention some parameter list. If it is not parameterized, then I have to need not to write anything over there. So here, when it's a function defined under class, I must have to pass the self parameter. What this self is? Self is a parameter which is basically representing the object. That means the current object. Current object means the object which is calling that volume method. Okay. You must have to pass the self parameter, or rather self as a first parameter of the function which is defined under a particular class. So what this function does, definitely it calculates the volume of this box, and the syntax is self dot width, okay, self dot height, and self dot depth. So that's all regarding my function definition. Now I have to break the alignment. When I'm breaking the alignment, it's clear to us that the class definition is over. Now I have to create an object. How we can create an object? I have to write a variable name. Suppose it is OB, box, parenthesis, open, close. What it is. I'm coming to that point, what it is. Before coming to that point, let me tell that an object gets created. OB is an object. OB is an object. And if you print OB, you can see that what OB is. Look, it is an object. Of which class? Box. It is an object. And when I am telling that, I earlier told that when an object gets created, if I create an object of a student class, each and every student have ID, name, address, phone number, mail ID. Here also, when I am creating an object of class box, each and every box must have width, height, and depth. As I assign value to width, height, and depth, so definitely this value of the width would be 5, height is 10, and depth will be 2. And if I print the value of width, height, depth, you can see the value of OB dot width, okay, star OB dot height, okay, star OB dot depth. Sorry, not star. I want to print of it. I want to print the width, height, and depth value. So just giving a comma and print the width, height, and depth value of it. Check. It is giving 5, 10, and 12. And this is the way, another important thing I must mention in this regard, this is the way through which I can access the member of the class through an object. Because I created OB, I can create a number of objects from this class. Say I am creating another object. I'm creating another object by writing OB1 equal to box. Okay. Again, parenthesis open close. What is the meaning of it? I'm coming very next topic as this one. OB1 box. When I'm using OB1 box, that means another object gets created. And if I print the value of OB1 dot width, OB1 dot height, OB1 dot depth, I will get the same value as 5, 10, and 2. But I can modify the value of it. I can change the value of OB1. So how can I can change? By giving, or rather by accessing the member using dot operator. So OB1 dot width, say I'm assigning new value, it is 10. Forget about 10, say it is 12. OB1 dot height, say it is 5. And OB1 dot depth, say it is again 5. Now run the code again and check whether the value gets changed or not. Yes, the value gets changed. Now I'm calling the volume method to calculate the volume of OB1 as well as OB2. As it is returning value, so I'm directly write print OB dot vol, okay, and print OB1 dot vol. Okay, print OB dot vol and print OB1 dot vol. And if you print the value of this, look, it is 100. It is 100. How it is coming 100? 5 into 10 into 2. As it's a method, so I must have to give this parenthesis open close. And it is giving 300 because I updated the value of width 12, height 5, and depth 5. So 12 into 25, it is 300. So this way, so using dot operator, that is the conclusion, using dot operator through object, I can I can access the member variable as well as I can access the method also. Okay. And the last part of this program, which I not yet discussed, what this box is or what this box is. Few uh, hints I have given in this regard earlier, that it is a method. It's a method, okay, because parentheses open closes are there. But I haven't defined any such method under the class box, right? I haven't defined any such method under the class box. Still, I am calling it. So it's a special type of method. What it is? It's a special type of method. The name of this method is same with the class name. The name of the method is same with the class name. And this method is known as constructor. What I'm telling? This method is known as constructor. What is the purpose of writing constructor or defining constructor? To assign a member value, or rather to initialize the value of a member variables. Who are the member variables in our program? Width, height, and depth. These are three member variables. To assign the value of the member variables during the object creation. During the object creation, a constructor is used. Here, I assign the value of the member variables fixed, that is 5, 10, and 2. And later on, what I am doing? I am updating the value of the member variables. But this is not the way to create an object by resetting the member variables. No. One approach is a object can be created, okay, When an object is created, I have to use the constructor. So I can define the constructor. How the constructor is defined, that I will discuss in the coming lectures. How we can discuss how we can define a constructor. But here, no constructor is defined so far, but it is used to create an object. It is used to create an object. And what this self parameter tells, self parameter actually telling or pointing this object, which calling this volume method. When volume method is called by OB object, then self is basically pointing to this object OB. When volume method is invoked by OB1, volume method is invoked by OB1, then what I can say, that self parameter is pointing to the object OB1, and at that time the self dot width, matlab OB1 dot width is 12, self dot height is 5, and self dot depth is again 5. And that's why we are getting the result 300 as a volume of this box OB1. I hope this much is clear to everybody. So thank you. Next, I will discuss about how to write a constructor, and then I will move to the topic inheritance, which is a very important for the object-oriented programming. So thank you all.